Today we thought we'd give you a bit of a tip on how to take care of chickens in the heat. We're suffering through a pretty incredible heat wave here in the Southern California region, and put into place some tips to help you get through it. The area where we keep the chickens have a lot of shade, so it's kind of under a big pine tree, and we have lots of opportunity for them to hang out outside the coop in the shade. But today the temperature got up to nearly 104 degrees, so we kept an eye on them, and for the most part they hung out in the shade, either inside the coop or outside the coop on the side of the coop. But they're doing well, and it's pretty remarkable to see chickens with all these feathers. We think that they might struggle in such heat, but they have ways of coping, and they seem to be doing okay. On the side of the coop, there's a kind of a bare dirt area that allows them the opportunity to give themselves some dust baths. So they'll dig in the corner, dig up a bunch of dust in the fur. It's a way to clean them. It also helps cool them down since the soil temperature is a little cooler. Again, the pine tree offers a lot of shade, and it stays a good 10 degrees cooler at least than out in the hot sun. Even so, given the predicted heat wave, we decided to put in place a system to help them stay even cooler. So we purchased these misting systems that you would put on like a patio, or sometimes you'll see them out in front of restaurants in a hot climate. And they just hook up to tap water and spray this really fine mist, and it doesn't really get the ground terribly wet, doesn't soak everything, but as the mist is sprayed out and evaporates, it helps to cool off the air even further. So in the area immediately adjacent to the coop, they're able to get a little bit of cool off, a little bit of heat relief, but they can come and go as they please. The ground doesn't get saturated, but it does get a little bit damp. And for the most part, there's a lot of worry about whether or not chickens can get respiratory infections, but it really doesn't get that wet around here, and the chickens know to self-regulate and come in and out. We have pretty hard water here in Southern California, so we put a calcium filter in between. Calcium is the main thing that contributes to the hardness, just to ensure that the little filter heads don't get clogged and we don't have to clean them out regularly. Now, one thing that the chickens can do on their own is keep their feathers or their wings away from their body, which helps them cool off, helps them dissipate heat from underneath. So you'll see them walking around with their wings kind of outfolded. They also know to seek out the coolest parts of any structure, so you kind of see them huddled up over here in the coolest corner of the inside coop. Always a good idea to make sure the chickens have ready access to water, so we've got this 5-gallon bucket with some chicken nipple waterers on the bottom of it that we always keep filled up and make sure it's fresh. And you may even see your chickens panting like dogs. This is another way that they use to regulate their own heat. Very similar to what other animals do, panting. So just to summarize some of these tips, number one, just let the chickens be chickens. They originate from tropical climates. They're used to dealing with the heat. They can either, control their location by getting in a cooler part of the area, staying in the shade, or regulate their heat with panting or keeping their wings up. Number two, just make sure you provide lots of shade, whether that's inside the coop or on the outside of the coop under shrubbery or trees. Number three, make sure there's plenty of water available always. We have the big bucket that we use for their main water, but we also put out little trays of water outside in the shade where they seem to be spending a lot of their time. And even putting out some little buckets full of ice cubes can be another way to keep them cool. Finally, if you're in a situation where it's getting really hot, in our case over 100 degrees, you can install something like we did with the misting system, which can provide some additional cooling Just on our own experience standing underneath the misters, even though we weren't getting soaking wet, we could feel the temperature at least 10 to 15 degrees cooler. So if you put it in one portion of their run and allow them the opportunity to come and go as they please, then they'll use it and then walk away and regulate themselves. But it's just another additional layer, especially if you live in an area where it's very hot, very dry. Thanks for watching, everybody. Hope these tips helped you out. Don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it, or hit the subscribe button down below. Stay tuned for more updates from the Ground Up Garden, and take care. Have a great summer.